Hey guys, Fire here, bringing you another game review. This time we're checking out Slam and Roll. Slam and Roll is a 90s kind of homage to platforming games of the era that I'm going to talk about and share my opinions with. So let's go ahead and dive on to the gameplay and let's talk about the game. The game features multiple characters, but where you can play up to 2 players, local or co-op. And you can unlock different things for characters as you play throughout the game and run through the different modes. There's currently a tour mode which basically lets you save your progress. There is an arcade mode that basically you just go as far as you can. It's almost like when you put quarters in a machine. And then there's challenge modes that are updated every so often, which I haven't really got to see get updated since the game I haven't got to play too much early. But we'll just dive in to talk about some of the game. You're going to be able to unlock different worlds to play at and encounter as you play across areas, and you're going to be jumping around kind of using like a hockey puck-like structure to capture characters without being hit, and use as few of hockey like interactions with attacking enemies as you can to complete out a level. Now, the game features an okay amount of bosses that vary as you progress throughout the game, and as you progress throughout the game, you're just going to be spending every bit that you can to try to knock out and defeat the enemies. The less kind of attacks you need to do, the more points you're going to score, and the better grade you're going to get as the levels progress. Hence, it's called Slam and Roll. You're slamming a hockey puck, and you're going around and trying to score the best you can. The game has an okay variety in the enemies and stuff that you're going to encounter while you're playing, and while you're playing, if you get hit at all, the level's going to restart. It's basically just going as far as you can with the amount of information and stuff that you can do to ultimately complete out the different stages and progress to get to the end. I think it's an okay mechanic, but it honestly shows its age when you're playing through the game, as it is a dated kind of style. This is very much what like arcade style quarter feeding machines used to be in the 80s and 90s. I don't even really know if they really make too many of them anymore, outside of ones that are more catered for like modern day retro effects with games. But still were really fun and nostalgic for their era. Let's talk about the graphics. It's full on 90s vibes. There is nothing here that doesn't show 80s, 90s kind of mentality while you're playing, and it honestly all plays really well, and is actually pretty fun visually with how they did the graphics. I think it's retro, and it's aiming to be retro and nothing more than over the top kind of vibes and feels. It almost feels like they're taking a little bit of inspiration from, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles old style arcade machines, and just kind of creating the different content along the way while you're playing. I think it's pretty fun and enjoyable when it comes to how the game goes, and I really like just the touch of how the visuals go. So let's talk about my overall impressions. I think first and foremost, the tutorial for the game is really rough and needs to get fine-tuned a lot more than what's actually here. And I think the gameplay itself can be a little clunky with how the controls work, and trying to get through some complex controls that I think that could be a little more simplified. It feels like they kind of approach the controls in the game to be more restrictive, almost like they only had a couple buttons to use on a retro arcade machine, and that's kind of what they felt like they were stuck with, versus really utilizing what a controller can do for the game. I think if they would have spent a little more time catering to the controls, it would ultimately end up in a much better experience and a more enjoyable kind of stint while you're playing. I don't think it's anything that's overly dramatic, and I think the game is actually decent for what it is, but I don't know if it's going to age super well with modern gamers today, unless you're someone who still has maybe like an arcade stick or one of the new like Turtle Beach-esque arcade gaming controllers. I think it's not going to really resonate well with new younger gamers, I think it's going to be something that you might see like your dad or uncle have some fun with, and beyond that, that's kind of the limitations of what the game's going to present out for most gamers. Don't get me wrong, it's not a horrible game. I just think it's a game that's ultimately going to be giving up and showing its age and genre a little more than it probably wants to be. And I feel like it's going to be additionally one of those games that just kind of gets left to the curb and doesn't get really the recognition that it might deserve. So don't get me wrong, I'm not massively in love with the game. I think the controls are the big elephant in the room that really need to be fixed to make this a fun game. I do enjoy the boss encounters. Those are actually pretty fun and enjoyable, and kind of are what really kind of went over the game a little bit, but they're so short-lived, as you're going to spend most of your time playing this game just doing these simplistic stages, and to where if you get hit once you have to restart, and that's really all you're going to kind of be grinding at and doing. And some of the basic enemies are honestly more basic than you'd ever really want or imagine them to be, and it's going to feel more like a grind than really something that gives you kind of that rewarding vibe while you're playing. It's really going to come down to, do you like button mashing, chaotic 90s nostalgic games, or are you going to want something that's a little more fine-tuned for, I guess, the generations that we're at now? It's got a fun achievement list, but again, it's just lackluster with how the controls kind of make it feel very clunky and really unrewarding while you're playing. Overall, let me know what you guys think of my review down below in the comments. I had some fun with this slam and roll, but it gets very repetitive in the end. Outside of that, I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll catch you guys next time.